Happy Friday night. And welcome to the show again. Dave in the AM, the Cornbread Man, with you live on a Friday night. It's good to be here. It's a free for all. As the news said, we talk about whatever. I do have a few things I want to go over tonight. Happy weekend. Great day to be alive. Great day to be an American. And God is so good to us. And it is a pleasure to be here in your midst. And I hope that you are just rocking it tonight, whatever you're doing. If you're spending time with family, even if you're having to work, you can rock it. I remember when I used to have to work weekends a lot. I still work some weekends. I mean, I work security some, but when I had to work all weekend long, I really enjoyed the live programs. The taped ones were fine, but it was kind of like, the live shows. I figured that they were there with me. It just gave me a feeling of being, they were there. And there were some live shows that were on the weekend, on Saturdays and Sundays. Besides sports shows, there were some talk shows that were on, and I really enjoyed those. It just made it seem like the time went by better when you had somebody that you were interacting with live. I was doing security one night, and it was way early in the morning. I mean, I want to say 5:00 in the morning, and there was a podcast that went live. I don't know where they were at in the world, but it went live at 5 a.m. And that was gold, because it kept me awake. You'd be getting sleepy around that time. You got an hour to go, and you're like, hey, here comes this podcast live at 5 a.m. And you're like, yes. And they could have been talking about, deer droppings, and I wouldn't have cared. I mean, it was just something to get, but it was an interesting discussion. I don't remember what the show was about now, but I remember I really enjoyed that because it kept me kind of alert. And, tape shows sometimes don't do that as much because you don't have the interaction. That they're up with you. There was she got in trouble. There was a lady used to cover true crime, and one of the cases that I have tried to keep up with over the years, the Summer Wells case, but she was coming live from her job. Got fired for it. But that one morning, a couple of mornings, maybe 3 mornings in a row, because I would work 3 days back in those days. I was working crazy hours, and I was just a podcast listener then. I had gotten out of podcasting and was just listening. And the podcast would come on at like a crazy time, like, I don't know, 4 a.m. or something, because she was up in the middle of the night, and it would last all the way up till sometimes past 6. So I got off at 6. So it kind of got me home. That was a hard time, that 3 to 6 or 4 to 6 a.m., especially after you've done it a couple nights and you're like, oh, you're wiped out. And I appreciated that. It just always kept me going. So no matter where you're at tonight, if Dave, the Cornbread Man, can help you stay alert, give you something to at least chew on or laugh at me, that's fine too. I'm glad to be here. And we hope that you're having a good time. I hope your family as well. We've had some challenges recently. There's been some challenges in our family, and we're trying our best to navigate through those. I've had some health problems as well. I seem to be mostly past that, I think. And I just feel good. I feel good tonight. I told my wife, I said, catch up time. I said, because, not catch up you eat, but catch up time of getting back in the power mode, because I used to broadcast a lot because I love it. And especially if I have help with my wife, which I'll have tonight, and get back to some programming that I hadn't done in a while, like, Jub and Bubba. They're going to be coming up very soon. I promise you. We're going to expand their goings on here soon. So I miss them. Bubba's back there with the headphones on. He's ready to go. And we're ready to do it. I'm ready to put the hat back on and get moving with them. In the morning, now we're not done tonight, but in the morning, don't forget, we will be live in Ringo, Cornbread Man Biscuit Boy with Wolf Nation, or we call that one the Southern Fried Saturday AM show. But it is basically under the Ascending Group and Wolf Nation. Well, Ascending Group is sponsoring these programs, and we appreciate them. And we do about an hour live, maybe a little more. Then we go off and do some videos. And some of the videos you see Those are taped on Saturday mornings, and we enjoy doing those. Last couple of weeks has been a little crazy. I was sick last Saturday, and the Saturday before that, we just did the videos. We didn't go live, so we got to get back to going live, and looking forward to that. There'll be 2 new shows that'll be coming online, among others that really have been kind of out there, and I have only did maybe one of them, but we're just figuring out the schedule, kind of figuring out where life is at and what fits. But the Wolf Nation show, which is also the name of going to be the name of the coffees, the rebrand, the kickoff. I got to finish getting with them. The rebrand to be the Wolf Nation coffees. It just seems to fit, and those will be great. The logo looks great, and I look forward to that going on the coffee. I just got in a new blend too, and I haven't even tried it yet. I just haven't had the time to try it. I've been, in fact, tonight I have a couple of pods in my pocket. We do the pods as well. I hadn't even broke into them yet. I need to put them here in the studio, and I probably dropped one. Hopefully I didn't drop it on the ground. But the pods are on an automatic for us. We get them in the middle of the month. They come in automatically. There's going to be a rebrand. There's going to be some new business cards, new logos. Some of them are already up. Many of them are already up. We're working on switching things around. You're going to be seeing the Cornbread Nation, the Cornbread Nation Radio, the Cornbread Nation News, the Southern Fried Patriots, the Wolf Nation, and a couple other things. It's all under that umbrella, the Southern Fried Cornbread Nation. And we're moving forward, and got the racing hour, the sports, the the Southern Claws and Paws, and all that stuff comes underneath that. We got some documentary features coming up. We're going to be doing some lives out in the public as well, more than just Ringo. Excited about all that. And next year we'll be getting more into some interviewing some political leaders and getting into the elections, the special election as well. Looking forward to all of that, and just continuing to grow as a podcast and as an entity. And it's exciting. We have partners that have been coming on board with us, and we got some other ones that we're hoping will, meaning that they're going to be coming in and doing some things with us quite frequently. Matter of fact, one that was with us here many months ago, I told them the other day it was time to come back on, and they said yes. And we'll be announcing that soon. I just need to get with them and have a night of ministry. Maybe that'll be Wednesday night. No, it's a good night for that. But we will have that soon. I've got a new segment, which the Wolf Nation will be all things outdoors. We're going to be talking everything from water sports, hiking the AT, to hang gliding, you name it. We're going to talk about it. All things outdoors. That's what Wolf Nation is. And remember, the wolf knows, and he sure does. And that's exciting for us. And we're going to have some new merch items available very soon. I just was down a little bit. I didn't have the ability. I was recovering, but I'm excited to be there. We're going to look at 20 things now that have changed since 1980. There's a lot more than 20, but we're going to look at loosely tonight 20 things that have changed since 1980, and looking forward to that. There's just quite a few things that have happened out in the world. I was 15 years old in 1980, and we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes as we get going here. And thanks to y'all that have came into the program. We appreciate you very much. And thanks for your support of all things Southern Fried, all things Cornbread Nation, all things Cornbread Man. In fact, on one of our Rumble channels, not Rumble, excuse me, X is called the Cornbread Man podcast. And so we're kind of doing some different things across some of the entities, and just diversifying a little bit and specifying some things, because we've been doing some particular exclusives. We do those on Rumble. We've done some on Clapper. We've done some on TikTok. We've done some. Well, we've got another one scheduled soon for Wimkin, excuse me, and maybe a couple more. And we'll be going live on those. It'll be exclusive broadcast. But you're going to be seeing a lot of things with Wolf Nation, especially. That's the one we're really trying to push right now, and just keep the others. Spinning plates. You ever do that? Spin a plate. That's what it feels like. You spin some plates. You enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun until it's not. Sometimes it gets like, oh no, the plates are falling. But no, it's always fun. It's great to be on the Rumble side, and make sure you get a Rumble download. Those are free. If you want to go premium, the time is now. They've been running some great deals, but get you a Rumble And another one that really stands with us is Gab, but Rumble is where it's at. And you'll get Pickaxe as a companion. Make sure you get that as well. We appreciate Pickaxe and all that they are. Gives us ability to post back on these videos that we've posted on Rumble. We have the ability to do that. So I need to promote Pickaxe this weekend very hard. Our X, we want to thank all of our X followers, 15,000 strong, 15,000 strong. Not that they always watch, but we have 15,000 followers on X, and I appreciate that. That means a lot. We have almost 8,000 on Clapper, and that is a blessing as well. We have over 5,000 on Facebook, and just continues to grow every day. And there's numbers of other ones that are over 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever it is. Thanks so much for your support. It means a lot. People today, someone messaged us last night and told us they really loved the racing song that we have, the Dave and Dean. That's what we call it, Dave and Dean, for the SFP or the Southern Fried Racing Hour. And that's a fun show, the sports show. We just had a ball with that. Before we talked about this the other night, before I get into anything, I want to, if you these are all the rage right now. They really are all the rage. We'll pull that up a couple of times during the show. But the Grinch, the Grinch adult Happy Meal. Who would have ever thought adults would just go, well, that's adults, don't they? They just go crazy over stuff like this. But you got the socks that's in there. There's 4 different color socks. I got the green. My wife got the blue. My granddaughter got I think she got green as well. And you can get 2 different food items in here, and the Grinch salt and all that stuff. This marketing genius, I'm going to tell you. I just got one because my granddaughter was getting it, but I know adults that are going out specifically trying to get all the socks that is offered. And it's a limited time thing, obviously during the Christmas season or while supplies last. Free advertising there for Mickey D's, and they're selling these things by the droves. I've seen. I knew some ladies that went out. I think it was yesterday. Went out and they wanted. It was the second round in a week to go out and get those, and those things are about $12. It's not the kiddo Happy Meal. Well, those used to be what, $5 or $6. I don't know what they are now, but these are around $12 with tax, maybe a little over, and. It's really this. It's just the medium meal, but them socks, man, that box. I'm telling you, that's driving people to go out and get it. That's the beauty of marketing. If you really hit on a marketing idea, you just keep running, and you always look to come up with something. And whoever came up with that idea is smart. I'm going to tell you, it doesn't take a whole lot, but I can tell you that people want those socks, and they're wearing them. They're not just getting them, but they're wearing them. Some people will get them and not even open them, I bet. They'll just keep the thing. They'll get the food out, close it up, and it'll be on the shelf somewhere as a keepsake, because people do that. I cannot believe how much money is being spent. It reminds me of one time they did this thing at our high school. Or no, excuse me, it was middle school. We called it junior high back then. But the Coca-Cola, remember well, it's still out there, but remember when Mellow Yellow first came out? Mellow Yellow. And what they did is you've probably seen this on some machines. I've seen this with another brand done as well. They put a T-shirt into one canister, one can that would open up and you could get your shirt. I mean, that thing was shrunk down. You'd have to wash it 3 times to get the wrinkles out of it. But I remember in our school when they put those in the machines, it was about, I don't know if it was every 20 or every 30 or 40 drinks, a shirt would pop out. And I watched a guy just pump. I mean, back then they were probably, I don't know, 50 cents for a canned drink. And this guy sat and pumped $20 in there, and he was giving away the drinks. He just wanted that shirt. I saw the same thing happen at the company I was working for, but it wasn't Mellow Yellow. It was something else. And the same thing where people were emptying out the machines, buying extra drinks to get that. There's just something about humans. Some humans, they want to get the prize. And they can't stand it when they can't get to the prize or get the one piece they're missing. And this is what's beautiful about this. I think they have 4 different colored socks in the box, potentially. You don't know what you're getting. So, everybody, I mean, I know it's green, blue, yellow, and I think red, but I could be wrong. I think it's red. And so, everybody's wanting to get all different 4. I mean, it's to complete the set. We are so gullible. But it works. Now, I'm not going to do that. But I just did it because my granddaughter was doing it. She wanted me to get it, and I figured it would be a hoot, talk about it a little bit. I didn't. I just thought that's. At first, I thought it was kind of silly, to be honest, until I seen the marketing genius behind it, and I realized, oh man, they've suckered these people in. They are going to do this. They are going to. I mean, this other restaurants have got to be scrambling a little bit. I mean, there's some restaurants that are really good about running some marketing during for movies and stuff like that. All of them have, many of them have done that. But this one they did for Grinch and the adult Happy Meal. I never thought I'd live to see an adult Happy Meal. I never have bought a Happy Meal in my life for me. It was always for grandkids or kids. And I never thought I would see the day that I felt so goofy. And my granddaughter, of course, wanted the adult because they didn't come in the kids. I don't think that you have to buy the adult for the extra cost. And she said, I know because I told her about it. She goes, what's that? And when I told her about it, I was like, oh, that sealed that. We're going to have to go. So we had her at the doctor because she hadn't been feeling well. But she was fired up. That got her feeling really good. And she wanted to go straight to there to get that box. And she said, you get this kind and I'll get this kind and we'll see what socks we get. And the next day, let's see, was that the next day? Yeah, the next day, my wife dispatched somebody to go get her one. She's seen it and she got blue socks. So we got blue, green, blue is what we got in the household. So that's what we have. Are you kidding? And so now you got not only the adults, you got the kids stepping up to pay more. Here's the genius in it. Even kids that would say, you just get me the Happy Meal. Well, I want that adult Happy Meal. I want the socks, so I'm going to pay more. You're going to have to give me more to get that. Please, I want it. I want the socks. Genius. I love the idea of marketing. I was never good at it, but I like to think I'm an idea guy. If I could just but I like the idea I have to spark other discussion and take that idea to make it the best. I don't think it's a finished product. I just like the idea of throwing ideas out. And I love that. It's like a riff, a guy who writes riffs for his band or something. Maybe he's not a songwriter per se, but Steve Clark was that for Def Leppard. We're going to be talking about them later. And Steve Clark would write these killer riffs. And, but he would write other things as well, but that's what he was known for. And, but his riff was not the finished product. His riff was, the idea that sparked the rest of the song. And that's what I like. That's what I feel like my strength is to be an idea guy. But there are some people, they just, in their brain, they can just map that out and come up with these killer ideas to tag along with it and make it something even bigger than your initial idea. I think that's killer. I think that's cool. But as we look at these changes that have occurred, 20 changes have occurred since 1980. There are probably literally thousands. I hate to say the word literally, but I just did. Thousands of things that have changed. But from the time I was 15, the decade of hope, we come out of the war 60s into the 70s, all the strife, all the inner city strife, the problems in our country, gas lines, energy crisis, the Iran hostages, all that stuff, and you got to 80. That's why I chose 80. It was a time where things started changing, and music changed. Just things changed. It was a fun decade for me, and things that have changed along with that from that time frame. And so in 1980, when I was 15 years old, there were obviously the internet was almost non-existent for us. I had heard obviously of people that were doing some things, some scientists and others, programmers, and they were loosely tying these things together with commands and stuff, but we really didn't know where that was going. It was like, what, and it just seemed like to be like an academia kind of thing, like it would be colleges and scientists and maybe government. I didn't think that it would be the monster that it was, but it initially had maybe 200 hosts or maybe even million hosts, but it is now connected. Now, get this, the internet is connecting over 5.4 billion people every day. Everybody doesn't have access. So, but 5.4 billion people are now connected to the internet. From 1980, that change has occurred. And look at it. Everywhere you go, everything is internet. Everything is online. Everything is Wi-Fi. Everything is about a hotspot. That from that time, it was all pencil, paper, typing, fax. Faxes were big back then. It has changed and revolutionized everything that we do as human beings across all the world. I guarantee you, in some hut in the middle of Africa, in some tribe, there's satellite TV and there's Wi-Fi being popped in so that the chief can have, cruise the internet. That's the change that has occurred since 1980. Now, knowledge is expanding and changing every day. So we can't even keep up with how far it's going and how quickly it's changing. And AI is revolutionizing that as well. But number one, the internet went from almost being non-existent to the explosion it is today from 1980. So things that happen within your lifetime. I'm 60. So in 1980, I was already 15 years old. Of course, number two was mobile phones. They were seen in the late 70s as these suitcase type things. We covered that on a podcast way back. We had a show called I Remember That, and I'm going to be bringing that back here soon. We're going to be talking about the aftermath of the Jim Jones massacre in the next week, within the next week. But the mobile phones changed from these really heavy, bulky, limited range things that only people that had some sort of financial. I mean, they didn't have to be rich, but they had to be living pretty big, because to buy those were very expensive. And to now, 6.8 billion people have mobile phones. And that is more than the number of people who have electricity or even clean water. Think about that. More people have a mobile phone now than have electricity or even clean water. So that is crazy. A lot of Americans have multi phones. I'm one of those. I use one for business. I have another one as a backup. It is his own though. Of course, I'm with Patriot Mobile, which the podcast is. Use that promo code Cornbread, and you'll get too much free. They're doing a holiday 25 code right now at Patriot Mobile. Holiday 25. Just mention the cornbread, and you'll the Southern Fried Dave, the Cornbread Man, and the podcast here. It's the Southern Fried Patriots and all that. They'll know. Just use that. Tell them it's the Cornbread guy, and they'll know. And Holiday 25, you get 2 months free. 2 months free. That's nice. You have to pay your setup fee, but it gives you 2 months service free. And they're really pushing that right now. So make sure you get on board with that. But yeah, the mobile phones, and they're faster. They pack more energy. The chips are getting super fast. We always heard that, but they're and some of the fast ones now are in Taiwan. Taiwan has some of the fastest chips that are on the planet, and America's getting invested into that, and some of that's coming to America as well. It is the ability to crunch more data faster, keep it cool. But mobile phones are the smartphones are pretty amazing. Of course, I have the iPhone, that is the 15 with the expanded, but I have also the, I didn't try to do this. It's just the way it worked out. It was a deal that got changed, but this is the iPhone 16, and I actually have an iPhone 14. So I have 14, 15, 16 that is involved with personal and or business. And those have more power in them, much more than they had on the first, if you believe they went to the moon. If you believe. Some people don't, but whatever they had, they didn't have that kind of power, even if they, and that's why people don't think they did. It's like, how in the world did you do that? They didn't have hardly any power, meaning the electronics and stuff, the battery power and all that. These things pack a wallop, and they can do so many different things. It's amazing. The world is at your fingertips. So since 1980, the internet, that is fed into the mobile phones as well. And now everybody does things through mainly mobile phones or tablets. Of course, that led the desktop, the personal computer, the point and click, the those guys at Apple and everything. IBM was the leader, Apple, all these different ones that came along, Dell Technologies and HP and all those ones. But they went from being basically something that was just an office thing, and it was put into everybody or most people's homes. And right now, um, just about everybody has one. But listen to this number: 1.6 billion units. Be it now that could be the personal computer. You have a personal computer in your phone, but that 1.6 billion units are shipped per year. 1.6 billion units are shipped every year. Personal computer. Amazing. Number four, the Cold War ended. Now we may be in another one. It's a possibility, but the Cold War ended that through the 89 to 91. Remember, tear this wall down. President Reagan standing there. But the Cold War ended. We still have war, but that was a long time coming. The Soviet Union dissolved. The Berlin Wall fell, and the world became very small through technology and the ability that we have to reach across the world. The world seems very small now. It's truly amazing. We can call across the world in a matter of 2 or 3 seconds. It's crazy, but that's where we're at. So the Cold War ended. Global extreme poverty dropped. This is a good thing, although there's still a lot of poverty. But it was in 1980. It was 42% of the world's well, actually, that was 81. 42% of the world's population in 81 to now less than 9% today is in poverty. It's the greatest reduction in human poverty in history. Now, there's still a lot of people in poverty, but that number has fallen. The ability of countries to have jobs and make money, that is not just an American thing. I mean, people can make a lot of money in other countries. Obviously, we want the American economy to be the best, and we'll get to one here next in just a couple of selections that has fed this a lot. Has fed this because one giant country was one of the leaders of poverty, and now is a leader in the marketplace. That being China. We'll talk about that in a second. Give you some numbers, or a little. I don't like to give you a lot of numbers, but a little bit. So global extreme poverty. Still got poverty, but extreme poverty fell from 42% in 81 to under 9% today. Life expectancy rose at birth. Life expectancy, at birth worldwide rose from 62.6 years in 1980 to 73.4 years in 2023. Of course, usually girls live longer than men by number. The averages play out. They will live a few more years. So this is a combined number. So that number would be a little higher if you just pull the females out and say the females. I think that's up around 80, honestly now, and not as much for the men because they do dangerous things and dangerous jobs for the most part. They don't take as good a care of themselves a lot of times. And they don't want to go to the doctor. I mean, a lot of people are guilty of that, man and woman, but there's definitely people that have not wanted to go. Men are very hesitant to go, and sometimes they wait too late. Then they're bummed out that they made that decision. But at the time, they're like, I don't need no doctor. But life expectancy at birth, so when a child is born, the expectancy of that child is the average of 73.4 years. Amazing. Again, China went from one of the most poor countries in 1980 to the world's second largest economy and a manufacturing superpower since 1980. Everybody always said, China, a bunch of farmers. They got a lot of people. They can't even feed them all. We got to worry about them. And now they're a global superpower. Well, they grew up really fast. They were a closed society. But once they stopped being a closed society, they really jumped out there and did a lot of things. And are continuing to do that. They are in a massive building campaign for their military. They are building new islands to, have places. They are developing places that were always just fields and placing manufacturing jobs in those places. They bring bus people in or train them in, and they will work 6 months on, 6 months off. I know this because I know a company that's situated in one of the areas that they have developed in the last, 15, 20 years, especially in the last 15. And they, you know, the companies, serve breakfast, lunch, dinner, and they have to consider all that because these people, they stay in dormitories. These people are, they don't have, there's nobody was living there. They have to bring all these people in from the surrounding areas, sometimes traveling a very long way. Um, since 1980, the AIDS epidemic exploded. It sure did. I remember the sad story of the Glazier family, from Starsky and Hutch, and his wife and child received a blood transfusion, I think because of a wreck, if I remember right. And of course, they didn't know that existed, and they died. It was a horrible thing that happened for him. But that definitely exploded on the scene. Um, it did strike fear across the world. It's still something that's being battled, but it is. There is a belief right now. Here's how far we've came in since 1980, when AIDS. Right after that, when AIDS started exploding on the scene, when they finally identified it, to now there is a belief that they can neutralize it. They believe they're at that point that they're able to stop it. That's pretty amazing. Now, and I hope, again, I'm not going to get into the whole why it's here, what call it. I don't. That's just a point of information. But the fact if there's anything out there that is harming or killing people or whatever disease or whatever, we can reduce or eliminate that. That was such a killer on such a wide scale across the world. That would be a good thing. Um, but I heard Elton John on TV talking about he believes that the president can push this over the hill, and they would just, for the most part, remove it as a threat. The next one is, of course, in 1980, late 70s, mid to late 70s, what was being talked about? The ozone hole over Antarctica. Say was discovered in 85, and of course, what was removed? Of course, the fluorocarbons and stuff. Remember, you couldn't get spray things, hairspray and stuff like that. But at that time, they had to do a lot of switching around. It became more of a pump and not that fluorocarbon that pushed that out. Um, whether there's different opinions about this, and always has been, but it is basically recovered. Whatever happened, I mean, they think you don't even hear it talked about anymore. But in the late 70s, early 80s, and uh, there was talk about the effect on the environment due to some of these things. They say it was discovered in 85, but I was thinking that they talked about this earlier than that. But anyway, commercial air travel became affordable for the global middle class, and has the price of, if you do inflation adjusted, the real price of the airfares has fallen 50 to 60% since 1980 if you adjust for inflation. And it is true. More and more people are flying, and it has caused a lot of backups, and it's really hard to get seats, especially around any kind of holiday or any kind of thing where a lot of people are traveling. And people love to get, because we want to get somewhere fast. We don't want to be held up and not be able to get to the places we want to go. Some people don't like flying, and I'm one of those. I don't really care for it. I have flown. I'm not got a phobia about it. I will get on the plane, but I don't have a fear of it. One of the things that really affected me because of my love of music, we went from the albums to the cassettes, and to the CDs. One of the first, I don't know if it was, I don't think it was it wasn't the first. It could have been. I don't think it was. One of the early CDs that I bought was Hysteria by Def Leppard. I remember that, but I think there was something before that. I don't think that was the first. To tell you the difference, um, when I bought Van Halen's album 1984, that was on album. And I remember buying that. So within 3 years, I had bought a CD, but I'm almost certain there was some before that. Um, Oh, there was so many. I had a deep collection. I just do not remember the first one that I bought. But I do know that Def Leppard packed over 60 minutes of music on that CD, and that was something that was not possible with albums. And even the early iterations of CDs was not. I don't think. I think the hour was still somewhat limited, but you go slightly past. But they really pushed it. And then you got into double CDs, and all that. They could really put a lot of information, a lot of music on there. And of course, let me not leave out. Hey Barry, let me not leave out 8-track players, but 8 tracks. Um, of course, since 1980 is what we're talking about. Things have changed since 1980. Vinyl, cassette to CD, and now the streaming, where everybody's got the Pandora, Spotify, whatever it is, and it's all about the single. It's all about the one song. I'm still a fan of music. Listening to an album through, I think there's a true art to that. The way they lay the songs out. I'll talk more about that on the music show, but the way they lay that out on the album. And again, some of these I'm not. It's not meant to be controversial. You can like or not like. That's not the point. It's the point of what has changed since 1980. Number 12. Gay marriage was not legal hardly anywhere in 1980. And now it is legal in 38 countries by this year. 38 countries. Now that is still, and the global opinion has been changing among most Western nations. It'll never be 190 nations. That just ain't going to happen. But to show you how it's changed, and in the states beliefs on this within the United States, different states have had some different laws about it, and that's still ongoing. But that has changed since 1980, where that was not anywhere close to being legal. Smoking rates in developed countries have plummeted since 1980. Remember the Marlboro Man? Back in the day, they would the Virginia Slims commercials. They would smoke constantly on the TV shows. There would be commercials about it, and then there were some laws put in place about that for some of the advertising anyway. But the smoking rates have fell. In 1980, let me go back. Actually, in 1965, the year that I was born, in 1965, the smoking rate was 42% of, and this is across the earth. This is not just an American number, but humans, 42%, not that far from half, smoked in 1965. Well, tobacco ruled. I mean, all your things was a lot of your advertising was smoking commercials. I mean, it was a big part of that. In 1980, that had fallen to 33%, still very high, but had fallen. In 2023, that number has fallen to 11.5%. So from 42, and by the way, I think if you go back, it would be way higher than that back in the turn of the century and everything. But 42% in 1965, 33 in 1980, and in 2023, 11.5%. Now that's a world number. That's a world number, which is still amazing that it's that low considering some countries that are very much still heavily filled with smokers, people that smoke a lot. It's a part of their culture. Human population grew from 4.4 billion in 1980 to over 8 million. I think it's closing in on 9 million. Well, will be very soon. We crossed the 5 billion number in 87, 6 billion in 99, and 7 billion in 2011. So those numbers are exploding as well as we see that. In 1980, the cable news. Remember CNN? That was launched in 1980. I remember that. Later, 24-hour news. Social media created a completely new media environment, fragmented, real-time, and often polarized. Everybody watched it. It was the big dog on block because they was the one who had that. And that was the genius of Ted Turner. Absolutely. He brought all that stuff to fruition. The Walkman. iPod. It became, now we have the iPods. So, people remember the big boom boxes, people walking down the road, the, the big boom box, you could hear them coming. They got that thing right by their ear. They could take it and they could sit, or they'd be swinging it, big. Those things were heavy. My friend had one and they were really heavy. Later ones were not as heavy, but the early version of that, those were heavy. And nowadays you have, everything, like I say, with the smartphone, it's all downloaded. You have the iPods. And in fact, for Christmas, one of the gifts my granddaughter wants is iPods. She likes, and that's all the rage. All the kids, the adults, everybody wants their own space. They get on a plane, they're putting putting something in. And it's all about that. That has all changed in the 79, 80 when the Walkman was a big deal. And then the iPods were actually in 2001, those were introduced. And so this changed the music industry. Without a doubt, it changed the music industry a lot. In 1980, video gaming went from arcade cabinets and Atari. Remember the Atari 2600? It is now a $200+ billion industry, larger than movies. Now, this is an amazing stat. Larger than movies and music combined. Wow. I didn't know that. 200 plus $billion industry. Billion with a B. Industry larger than movies and music combined. And in fact, on Rumble or some other channels, but on Rumble, there's a lot of gamers. You can flip through and you'll find a lot of them. And this has become a very big thing. So that has all changed since 1980. Let's give a couple more and we'll finish up. Let's see. The European Union, remember that? They were an afterthought. That behind you was in Georgia. The European Union went from 9 members in 1980 to 27 today, and there are 9 countries that are considering wanting to be included. Montenegro, I think, is the latest one to try. Bulgaria has been one of the later ones. But there are several. Ukraine is among them, and they're not going to get in. But I don't see that happening. I could be wrong. But they are at 27 today. Of course, the euro is their dollar. That was established in 99, which everybody freaked out with 2000 coming along. And then, in fact, just a couple of days ago, they were voting. If a country is attacked in the European Union, how long before a country has to let troops across? And they said no more than 3 days to go fight the threat. So they're talking about all that. But the European Union, I remember the early money and what that looked like. That is exploded. And there's been those that came out of it too, but it's not going down. It's growing. And there's some other Bosnia, I think, wants to be involved. There's a number of, most of the bigger countries already are, but some of the smaller countries are asking to get in now. And the last thing I will mention tonight on this is, and again, I think it's used in the wrong way. I think it's a battering ram to make people pay more tax. But climate change, remember, it wasn't climate change. It was global warming and everything to begin with. And now that has become a catchphrase, climate change. And the reason they went to climate change is because they said global warming, whenever they showed up. Al Gore was notorious for this. He would show up at a place and it would snow. So they said, well, bad, we got to come up with something different. And they came up with climate change. And that's the accepted term nowadays. And big money. And they'll just keep pumping and preaching that the world is ending and the environment's dying, and they'll keep getting their money. And some of these accords, I was glad the president took us out of the Paris Accords. Most of these, and other countries don't follow them, would have forced America's industry it would have went into the toilet. And we can still be clean energy and not go to total. Just today or yesterday, some of the European Union countries have asked the European Union to relax, because remember that 2035 rule, which Biden was pumping down our necks about getting rid of. In California, by 2035, it was going to be illegal to sell a gasoline engine in a new car or truck in California. Couldn't do it. Wasn't going to be allowed to do that anymore. Well, that 2035 number that's a number they promoted, and now they're asking the European Union to relax that they can still sell hybrids and/or internal combustion engines. Why? Because they ain't gonna make no money. They realize this. They realize that that market is huge and people want that. So even in those European countries that fell all over themselves to scream climate change and everything else, they're now wanting some relaxation on that, on the rules. Well, that crapola ain't going to fly here. That is not going to fly here. But those are 20 things that have changed since 1980. Barry says, I don't disagree with climate change. And Georgia climate changes every 5 minutes. My problem is the idea that government can change and only God can change. Yeah. We do have changes called seasons. But it is used as a massive fundraiser. For sure. A couple of more here since 1980, and we'll finish up to the top of the hour. But social media, was not even thought of. Nobody knew. Nobody knew what that was, and what was social media. I mean, there was no social media. The early, very stages of that, MySpace or something, that was what. But look at it today. You can't even keep up with all the channels. There's something for everybody on the face of the planet, and it is worldwide social media. The word terrorism become more of an everyday term since 1980. But people talk about terrorists, but terrorism as a term became more widespread and known. And nowadays, when something major happens, what's the first thing people think? They'll say, I hope it's not an act of terrorism. And sometimes it's not. I mean, you could say it's domestic terrorism, but sometimes it's maybe a guy fighting with his ex and he goes on a killing spree. But terrorism as a term, which I don't even think it's still even today is included in the International Criminal Court's code of things that they go after, terrorism. Imagine that. I know it wasn't at one time. If they've added it since I looked. But the idea of terrorism has become part of our vernacular. It's part of our vocabulary, where we talk about terrorism, and even young kids, they will know about terrorism. I mean, they will understand that term. They would be taught something about it in school, for sure, and they hear the things anyway. So these are things that have changed since 1980. Now, and there's tons more I could cover, but when you're talking about things that changed, now I'm going back to 1980. That's a wide range. Nowadays, the change is going to happen so fast. You could say since, it's just 2025, you could say since, 2020 and even to today, and a lot of things have changed rapidly because of the changes that occur. And then if you were to go, I believe what will happen is that, information is doubling and tripling pretty quickly. So I think these things we could say almost in like a 2 or 3 year span, we're getting to that point where in 2 years, everything changes. All the technology changes. The AI is going to speed all of that up, where honestly, it may be months. I think right now it is still 2 to 3 years for most things, 5 on the outmost. That is going to turn into months. It will continue to decrease. Things will change so rapidly as knowledge is increased in the ability that they're getting nowadays to produce things in quicker and faster ways. And ideas are becoming, used to be they sketched all that out on, paper, using the little tools, the drafting tools and everything. Forget that. That's all electronic now. And AI, where you had these guys that were paid to be drafters and drafting and all that stuff and using all those tools. Now it's going to be the AI. The guy will just feed the information in and tell AI what they want and do modifications off of that. And they probably have never touched nothing. You just say, okay, I want this, this, and this. And it says, here you go. Boom, it's there. Now you send it to the 3D printer or whatever the idea is, and that happens very, very quickly. Amazing stuff. And so people that are young today, and all ages are going to see this, but people that are young today, because I won't be on the scene for 100 more years if we're still here, but things are going to be changing rapidly. We won't even be able to imagine it. Can you imagine if George Washington somehow miraculously could walk the streets of America today, and what he would, I'm not even going to get into the politics and stuff. I'm just looking at the changes from his time, the early days of our country, till now, what that would look like to him. I mean, it would be amazing to get his input on what is it, what in the world is that? And now, I mean, it's crazy. Everybody has a drone, seems like. We all have this ability to, cameras everywhere. Everybody's being listened to, watched. Our footprint is everywhere. Hello, Watchman. Our footprint is everywhere. Everything's changing pretty quickly with technology, and it's all happening rapidly. And AI is going to drive that, and is driving. That's not going to. It is driving that right now. Watchman, we've been talking about 20 or 22 things that have changed since 1980 in the world, from technology to diseases to whatever, across the world, life expectancies, everything that have changed in those years since 1980. Amazing. And now everything will be, because of the C word, everything will be from then. I only say that because a couple of these channels, they want to strike you for saying it, but the C word, everything will be from that point forward, how things rapidly have changed. Me and my granddaughter went to the doctor the other day, and we tried to have some fun with it because she was sick. They wanted to wear a mask in the office, and it was the first time that me and her, and I know there's some people who never put them on. I'm not here to argue with you. But it was the first time that we went to anywhere and put a mask on. In fact, we took a couple of pictures of that. It was like, and Kaylee, actually, I got a little video. I need to load that video up. I need to get that up before this weekend is out, because she cracked me up. We were in the room and she was saying, I hate these stupid masks. But here we are. If you can see this, if you kind of see that, that's me and her. It's a little bright, but that's me and her in the mask in the waiting area. And then when we left, we've got some back there. That was me and her at the Christmas tree. Well, you might not be able to see that too good, but try to get away from some of that light. But anyway, that was like, I said, let's take a picture. We haven't done this in years. And she's like, I hate these stupid things. Crack me up. I said, thank you for the keeper video. Because I think that would be the message that a lot of people would say. Watchman says AI is destroying jobs. This is by design. So UBI must be rolled out. Well, it definitely is taking over. I mean, decision making and when you people's minds are going to be wasted, and I can already see that happening. Used to be you would work on ideas, slogans, something that defines your work area, what your business is, whatever. And nowadays everybody does this. They pick up the phone and they put in the little AI app, or they call it up, and they say, give me a quote or something that I can say encompasses all this for my business. And it spits that out. And sometimes you might make a modification or two, but within seconds to a minute or two at the most, you have not picked up a pen. You've not typed anything on a computer, Everything is done for you, and that is dumbing down to a degree the human brain because people are getting comfortable with that. It's like, I don't have to think too hard. Just ask AI. And in meetings I've been in, they would say AI is acceptable. Just make sure that it says what you want it to say. Uh, some of them spit it out, and it was just very much what we put in. Other things that spit out and they say, well, that looks good. But every communication is now filtered through AI, just about. I mean, official communications are all filtered through AI. Yeah, yeah, Barry. The only reason I'd say that is we got kicked off of a channel for a week for saying that word. Actually, we didn't say that word. We said the V word. It's the only thing we could figure. Once that $500 billion AI from Texas comes online, AI will govern, and no state or individual can dispute it for 10 years, according to the big beautiful. But that's where we're going, and so we're getting to that point where, and we know this, Watchman, that the Antichrist. How does an Antichrist rule the world? Well, one of the ways is you control all of all the technology and everything. And if AI is tracking every person in the world and can control every aspect of their life, you got control. And that's what governments are doing right now anyway. They've always wanted to do that. This is just they are frothing at the mouth. They are so excited to get the power that they see with AI and get a hold of that. And now you got the robots and the cyborgs and whatever else is going to come out about it. I mean, how long before those are patrolling our streets? In some cases, they already are. The little animal types already patrolling our streets. That's camera and information technology that's just being transferred back and forth. And some of those, they're being used in crowd control, and some of those can be armed. They've been very leery about doing that so far. But even I know with the Atlanta Falcons game, they have one that was they talked about it a couple of years ago. Goes around and keeps an eye on things, and can send out messages to the people. They say in the next few years, 90% of images will be AI generated. I don't doubt it a bit. I say it's not. I'd say it's over 50% now. Honestly, no doubt. 100% AI will be how Satan will rule. It's the only time in history he will have a godlike view of mankind. But and that's what we're quickly headed towards. So this change. So I just went back to 1980, and it is amazing the development. It took some time, but now it's rapidly changing. I mean, we're looking back. To me, it's not that far ago, but that's when you think about how long ago, 45 years ago. It's we're coming on 50 years. That's a long time. But overview, yeah, I got you. But the changes are happening rapidly even now. I mean, like you ain't even got the new stuff, and they've already got newer stuff. I mean, it's crazy. And here's the thing now, and I want to just touch on this. Yeah, people who say who is likened to the beast. Yeah, buddy. That's why they're opening all these data centers in Georgia for Bitcoin and AI. And the problem is when the bottom falls out from under these things, like they kind of doing with the electric car. Yeah, all about control, brother. China's already tried the electronic cars. They have a whole bunch of them just sitting around. Yeah, there's farms here in Georgia of cars. Once you burn the batteries up, nobody wants them. Nobody will buy them because it costs more to buy the batteries in some cases than the car is worth. So they're parts cars. That's all they are. I don't know if you can take them and turn them into gasoline engines or not, but I don't know. But yeah, that's happening so very rapidly. The changes that we see, and it is on a scale that we can't keep up with. And government is all over that, and they're driving it through military means, and spying on Americans. I'll just use America. Forget the world; they're already doing that. Spying on Americans, controlling where they're at, the footprint. I've said before, this whole idea of off the grid, I don't even know if that really even exists anymore. Maybe extreme examples, but all these people that I see, this is what gets me. Somebody has an account on social media account, name whatever, doesn't matter to me the name, and they will say something. They will say something in their bio that they stay off the grid. No, you didn't. You created a social media account on the phone that you made it with, or whatever you. You're not off the grid. There are channels out there that are podcasting from off the grid. My friend, you're not off the grid. You may be doing, even if you're doing blockers or whatever, you're doing you're doing solar energy or whatever you're doing, and you're trying to mask where you're at and all that. Dude, you're not off the grid. I'm sorry. You're not off the grid. They're an extreme example of people who may be doing that, but that's far and few between. I mean, there's nobody off the grid. The technology's out there to track mankind. I mean, let's face it. Remember the guy who, well, you might not remember, but there was a guy who he groomed a high school student. He was a teacher, and pervert, left his wife and kids, I think he had, took off with her across the country. By the time he got to Oregon, he was in handcuffs, and they just followed his trail. That's all they did. And the technology then is not even what it is now. This guy thought he was going to go up and live in a cabin somewhere and live with his underage, little thing, and the sickness of that. And now he'll be in jail the rest of his life. They got him, and she's been in, recovery ever since, and hopefully doing well. That was in Tennessee. But this idiot rolls across the country. They got him. They ended up getting him on video at stores, gas stations, wherever. And this idiot thinks he's off the grid. Idiot. And then when he got there, the news was already ahead of him. They were looking for people like that. People noticed who they were. They called the authorities. Come get them. They're here. Stupid. But people really think they can do that. Very few cases, I think, can that actually happen. Elon Musk has got that flame-throwing dog, and I want to get a flame-throwing cat robot. They do have that. I've seen that, the flamethrower. But think about, even though they know where everybody is, they're tracking people. They don't care. People are still passing away homeless and stuff. Well, sure, they don't care. It wasn't about caring. It was about control. Oh, they could care less. In fact, they're glad you died. Yeah, more off the roll. They would encourage that, Barry. Absolutely. Where is the SSA or any group tracking everybody when somebody's going hungry or they have needs? Well, yeah, they don't care about that. You're a drain on the system, You're eating all the food. You're using all of our medical, you're drain on the insurance industry. We need to get rid of these people. That's what they say. I mean, if you look at some of the Klaus Schwabs of the world, and there are a bunch of them, including here in the USA, they believe that 500,000 people should be the max amount of the world's population. And I would say they probably really believe in less than that, 200,000. But they have thrown that term out, 500,000 people across all the planet. That's all the planet can sustain, according to these nutcases who say, we got too many people. We can't feed them all. It's hurting Mother Earth and the solar system and whatever else. 500,000 people. That is the utopia. They say, those kind of idiots say, that we need to have going forward. Well, that's why we're having diseases and stuff on the scale that we had them. My friend has a flamethrower. He burns the spiders on his trees. Well, I'd like to see a video of that. No, brother. No, there are some out there that say 500,000. 500,000, dude. Forget the 500 million. I've read that in the books myself, in their articles and stuff. There are some that say that, but there are nutcases out there that say 500,000. They believe that's it. That is it. And they will limit, even with the 500,000, they will limit a big block of that 500,000 so that they're not trampling on all of the environment. They will have to live in specific areas, not just be able to go wherever they want, except for the very richest and elite. They can do whatever they want. They're stupid, but that ain't going to happen. That was what was on the Georgia Guidestones. The reason why somebody knocked it down. That's what the yeah. I understand that, but that's not the only ones who have said stuff like this. If you go read some of the stuff that people that are involved in the Bilderbergers and all that, they believe in far less. Yeah, Ted Turner was a nutcase. And he was a genius in one way, but nutcases can be geniuses, right? He did some amazing stuff. Captain Courageous, Captain the Sailor, the Atlanta Braves, WTBS, CNN, Mister Buffalo. Oh, smart cities are freedom cities, as Trump promised. Yeah, it's all coming, man. And yet all these people paying taxes. Fuck, yeah, they spend it like candy. They do. Yeah, people are struggling. They don't care. They really don't care. That all that stuff when they say stuff like that, those are all catchphrases that they say anyway. They don't care that people are struggling. They're kind of hoping that people will fall off the scene. Well, we gotta get some people off the rolls. But unfortunately for them, population it has slowed some, but population is still going up. It has slowed though. I will say that. And the biggest idiots to believe and fall into this trap was the American citizen, who believed and still does to this day. I hear it all the time. You can't afford to have kids anymore. One or two is all you can afford to have, and that's too expensive. Bull crap, buddy. Let me tell you, I know people got families, they got 12, 14 kids, and their kids are doing just fine. They're on a missionary salary or whatever. They're not missing nothing. They're living fine. And they're better educated and they're better patriots. They love God and they love America. But yeah. The glossy I'll be full of my property half cow. Okay, buffaloes. Oh, that's interesting. The globalists don't need anybody until, of course, they actually have to work. Well, sure. Oh boy. They like for people to bring them stuff. It's that old Roman, emperor mentality. Yes, bring on the dancers, bring on the singers, bring on some food. Yeah, they don't lift a finger. They lounge around. Perverts. That's what a lot of them are too. They're perverts. Oh man, these people are nutcases. The Bill Gateses of the world. What a creepy world we live in. I mean, it's so sin sick. The same people that said you can't afford children now are saying we need to import people for jobs. Exactly. Idiots. Idiots. You cannot sustain a population at 2 kids. It's 2.1 just to maintain. And now there are people groups that are having big families, and we know that. We've talked about it. But there are so many people believe, oh, you know what? I just don't think I'm going to have any kids. I don't want to bring kids into this world. It's not a good world. It's too much responsibility. It's too expensive. It's too this. It's too that. Shut up. We're supposed to be fruitful and multiply, to have a quiver full of them. They are a heritage unto God, and they are a blessing. They are not a drain on the system. They are a blessing from God. I told my kids that all the time, and my grandkids, when they were, especially when they're little, they're just like sponges. And I would look at them and I would say, you know what you are? They'd say, what, Papa or Papa? I say, you are a blessing from God. And I just pumped that into their little brains at every opportunity I could. I wanted them to know they weren't some kind of cosmic accident, or whatever you want to say, that they were just, why am I here? You're here because you're a blessing from God. And it's an honor to be your grandparent. It's an honor to be your parent. It's an honor to be around you. You're going to do amazing things for Jesus Christ in this world and in the world to come. Positivity, reminding them of the blessing it is to have life, to be granted that gift of life, and then to be able to draw on the eternal life. I've always, any kids, they don't have to be mine. I've told so many kids that, and they just beam as they get a little older. They would just shine because what are they being told their whole lives? They're being put down. You're stupid. You're lazy. You're this. You're that. Oh, we had it much harder. We don't tell these kids. Instill in them the values you want them to have, and they'll do it. They will do it. But tell them they're not. Stupid things are said in anger sometimes. Don't say the stupid things. Remind these children of how important they are. The future is in your hands. God is going to use you in a great way. Yeah, I know. Did you see the guy Watchman that went before the Dearborn uh, council meeting? They run him out of there with the police. Did you see that video? When he talked about population rates in the world for different races and stuff. At the end, he said, "Jesus is king. Jesus is king. Jesus is king." Boy, they were getting uncomfortable with him. Yeah. Oh, you did? Okay. I figured you did. If I wasn't here, I would have 1,200 cats standing around. That's right, Barry. Those cats need you every day. They're thankful that you're still on the scene. Absolutely. They love you and they appreciate what you're doing for them. Absolutely. Yeah, look at you, Lee. Hey, look for your blessings anywhere you can find them because there are multitudes of them. Enjoy it. Be blessed by it. Hallelujah. I love it. But I just feel so sorry for these kids that are damaged, and you see the damage on them spiritually, physically, emotionally, everything about them. And you tell them you're proud of them for something, and they weep, or they just are shocked to hear it, and they're just they just soak it up. It's a ray of energy that shines through them when you tell them, "Hey, yeah, thanks for being." I tell this sometimes to young people at drive-throughs. That's a lot of young people, and I'll pull up and they'll say, "Thank you for sir, have a blessed night," and I'll say, "Hey, thank you for being here," and they'll look at me and I'll say, "Huh?" And I'll say, "Thank you for being here. If you weren't here, I couldn't get this transaction right now." And I appreciate that. It means a lot. I talk to them. I ask them what they want to do with their life. Encourage them. I'll tell them, look, you're young. You can do anything you want to do. Go after it. Don't let anybody slow you down. You live your dream. You tell the world, of course, in conjunction with Christ and, what his will for your life, but you tell them there's absolutely nothing you cannot do. If God wants you to have it, you're going to have it. You just do it. You just go. And don't listen to the naysayers. I tell this all the time. I tell it to adults. What's the saddest thing in the world is watching somebody work a job they hate. And I've asked them before. I would say, why do you stay? Why do you do that? And they will say, well, I don't know. I got to have a job. I say, yeah, you that's what you have. You have a job. Why don't you find something that you're passionate about and make money doing your passion? That is so much the better. Absolutely. Yeah, it's about that. I think that's about right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what he brought up in that. Yeah. You're right, Watchman. I tell my bus drivers they're not young people, but I told them how much I appreciate them. Good for you, Barry. When I call the garbage people, too, I tell them how much I appreciate them picking stuff up. There you go, buddy. That's what I'm talking about. We can all be a blessing. You can never stop praising people. I'm kind of in a wheelchair when I go to the store and people do nice things for me all the time. And there is that's still out there. There is so many good people that will help you. There's some jack legs, there's some jack wagons and stuff out there, some sorry people. But there's a lot of good people and they love to help. It feeds their soul. They have service as a part of them. Absolutely. Um, I used to say I tried to say thank you as often as I can, but sometimes I carry expression on my face. We've probably all done that, Barry. Some days we just don't feel good. And I've even told people, hey, please forgive. I know I'm not the friendliest today. I don't seem to be, I want to be down, but I'm having a tough day. And a lot of times they'll say, I'm so sorry. I hope it gets better for you. And I'll say, thank you for that. Just for you saying that, it means a lot. smiling at people is sometimes difficult when you don't have teeth. I understand, brother. But there's all kind of ways to let your light shine. There's all kind of ways, and you can do that without a doubt. Watchman, that was messed up when Trump said Americans were too stupid, and that's why we need. Yeah, I didn't like that either. I you know, the I'm concerned. I'll be honest. I'm concerned that the terminologies are changing. There's things that are happening that I'm not happy about, and one of the things is when you start calling names, that just seems to get worse. It doesn't get better. And it was kind of funny, he would call, like, I don't know, Omar, different people names and stuff. The problem is he has started calling other people names too. People that, well, I think's done a pretty good job. He's calling them names. And I'm not, as a Christian, I don't like that anyway. There's that part of me. I've got that flesh, and I hear something, I'm like, I chuckle, and I'm like, then I think, oh, that's really not good, And, sometimes he's just being comical. I get it, but he's ripping people left and right, and some of the people he's ripping are Americans. And, I'm not with that, It's too easy I always tell my grandkids, listen, it's too easy. I've told my kids and grandkids, it's too easy to be like everybody else. Just go with the flow, go with the crowd. I said, it takes a person of character to go against the grain and be something different. Don't be like everybody else. If everybody's patting you on the back and telling you you're doing a great job, you might not be going the right direction, because this is a tough life. And people, ain't always doing great jobs. We got to do constructive criticism as well. Marjorie Green is not perfect, but I kind of like to see her run for governor and make Atlanta great again. Well, Barry, I'd be for it. I mean, what else is down there? What a circus we've got for elections in Georgia. And but I think she's going to show up somewhere, Barry. I just don't know what. I'm really not sure what's going to happen with that. But I do think that something's going to happen in the near future for her. I just can't believe this is it. I just refuse to believe that. People say, oh, she took her money, she's just going to retire. No, she's not. She is a person that is going to move forward in a new way. She's revamping. Look for her in 2026. Once she steps down, look for some things to happen pretty rapidly for her. And I think it'll become clear very quickly when that time comes. I think she's going to be pretty quiet through the holidays, get into the new year, officially resign, and then we'll see something. I'm a believer in that. I think that she is hooked up. Probably, I think it's media right now. I think that she is going to be somewhat in media right now, and just continuing to keep her name out there. And then if the time is right, she's probably got her eye on something. Whether it's that or not, I couldn't tell you. But and I could be totally wrong. But it's a sense I feel that she's not going to stay away from the camera. I refuse to believe that. She's always reinvented herself a little bit. She's always reinvented when she was. I mean, she's never stood down from a fight. She's always faced that. She's not running now. And these people that say, "Oh, she's running," no, I think she's setting terms. I don't think she likes what was going on. And people are so quick to believe the things that they hear anyway. We know how that is. I just think that she's rearming. She's looking in a different direction, and I think her name is going to explode, not only in Georgia, but she's been on the national scene. She's been on the international scene, and that's not going to change anytime soon. I'm telling you, she's going to be loud and proud in 2026. I believe it. Watchman said, I listened to an interview with Thomas Massey the other day, and he sounded like a sane man, a statesman. What I think of when I think of the founding fathers is really good. And one of the things I have said, and I agree, one of the things I have said in the last couple of years, I said, where are the statesmen? Where are these people at? Where are the people that really did put country first? Ask not what you can do for your country, but or what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? And I think that exemplifies that. There's a great story, and I think I want to say it was Thomas Jefferson, but I could be wrong. Anyway, one of the early founding fathers. He there was something that they voted to send some money somewhere, and it was not constitutional, and it was out of a act of, oh, it's so bad what has happened, let's send this money. Well, when he went to run for reelection, and this was early in his career, I think, but he went out, he met the voters, and the voters said, oh, we're not voting for you. And it shocked him. He went out to these big, farmers, plantation owners and stuff, and they said, no, we're not voting for you. And he said, why? He said, because you gave away money you weren't supposed to give away. So he realized, okay, I'm in trouble here. So he called. He said, can we have a meeting here, like a stump meeting? You stand up on the tree stump, and he said, yeah, we'll listen to you. And so he went back. He looked into everything that they were talking about. So when he came back for the meeting, one thing he did was own it. And he said, you know what? You are absolutely correct. I was wrong. And my promise to you is that if you reelect me, I will never do that again. And they reelected him. And it was said that he was sometimes he'd be the lone vote that would not vote to give money away to whoever and wherever like we do today. And he said, no, I'm not going to do it. That's not right. That's not money we should be spending. It's against our Constitution. We shouldn't be doing it. I want to think it was Jefferson, but I could be wrong. Watchman says they killed Thomas Massey's wife right after his Tucker interview when he spilled the beans that everyone in D.C. is AIPAC handlers except him and ETG on the Republican side. Yeah, I mean, if you don't go with the flow, it's like the Mr. Smith goes to Washington. If you're not in the powers that be, they will come after you. And listen, even Tucker has at times went radio silent. He was still talking, but he changed his tune. Remember when it was all over the J6 tapes and all that, and how quickly that just went off the scale. A lot of people are mad at Tucker now too for having Nuke Fuentes on and his background. So he's catching heat that way. There's people saying that they won't support him anymore. Did you see where they took down the Thomas Jefferson statue in New York City? They said it could be seen as anti-Semitic. Yeah, it's bullcrap. I am not for that. I've said it before on here. I am not for statues being taken down. Leave them up. We could leave them up for people to admire. We can leave them up for people to learn from, to remember what happened, what somebody's part was, or whatever. But leave them alone. It's stupid. It's so stupid. I absolutely, it's ridiculous, and I'm against that 100%. When I see that, I just don't like it. I understand in the taking down of some things, like there were Saddam Hussein or Hitler or something. I get that because they had images everywhere, but you should still have a museum that teaches the people what happened. And you should still have that area where you say, listen, this is left here to remember what we were capable of at one time in our history, if for nothing else, to say it's an educational piece. We're not glorifying them. Some people think that you're all worshiping I've never worshiped a statue. A statue's never hurt me. I don't even have to look at a statue. I don't have to read the plaque. I don't even have to go anywhere near it. A statue has never reached out and grabbed me and said, I now control your life. I don't worship things. I worship Jesus. But I still like to go and look and see. I learn. And there are things I've walked up on. I didn't even know the story. And I would sit and I'd look at it and say, okay, who's this guy? And I would read the story on the plaque or whatever. Sometimes that would drive me to a deeper study. That's what we're supposed to do. Why would we tear that stuff down? But yeah, but again, the narrative changes according to who has the power, and they start changing things. There's a case here in Georgia that is quite controversial. It has been from the earliest time. This goes back to the early 1900s. I've been to the grave of this young lady. It was made into a movie, which Jack Lemmon was in, and it is the story of the death of Mary Fagan, who was killed working at the pencil factory in Marietta, Georgia, and the who was the person who was guilty. It involves a lot of like the Klan was involved. They convicted the business owner. They went and broke him out of Milledgeville. They brought him back up to Marietta and they hung him. They have a plaque there on the place they hung him. Always heard that story. I think it's very sad anybody time somebody's hung or whatever. But the question became: was that person guilty or not? And the media would have you believe. In fact, you could see there were media. In fact, I've been to museums in Atlanta where they talk about this media that was promoting one way, and even during the trial and all this stuff. But I did a deep dive into the study of it. Yeah, the case. And I firmly believe that the person did it, the owner or the manager of the business or whatever. If you look into the court case and you look at everything about that, and you look at what some stuff didn't really come out in the trial. And if you look at that, and if you look at this security guard who was just grilled, I think it was for 3 days or whatever, from the highest priced lawyers they could get, and they couldn't break him. They could not break him. Of course, the outgoing governor, complimented us, to life instead of death, and they broke her out. I've been to her grave. And that's one in Marietta they still don't want to talk about because it involves a lot of old family names. And I read a book about it that a guy had wrote, and he said a lot of people all these years later would still not talk about it. He got a few. They went off the record. They would not even listen to it. But I firmly believe that he did it. Now, I changed on that because I had just always heard the narrative and listened to what has been said and how they promoted that. But I went back and I just dived really deep into it. And my gut tells me, I feel like he did that. And they really tried to paint up, the bumbling security guard as the guy. It is an old cemetery burial. There's actually quite a few, relatively interesting graves there. Mary Fagan is one of them. The Lady in Black was another famous grave at that cemetery in the old. It's part, it's in the old part of town. But yeah, Barry, I know you're a big history guy, but okay. Give me a name if you know it, and I'd be glad to reach out because I have researched this, and I have went. Okay, yeah, and where it ties in the history of because the day she was killed was they were having a Confederate veteran parade through Marietta, and she went, child labor. She went to go get her paycheck. And it's a horrible story. I mean, what was she, 13, 15? Somewhere in there. I want to say 13, but I could be wrong. It could be 15, whatever. But these young girls were being used in to work. And she, for some reason, she didn't get her check or whatever, and went there that day and was killed. It's a tragedy. One of Georgia's own, one of the, a nice young girl, just doing, what she was asked to do, to go worked hard. She didn't deserve what she got, whoever did it, but I do believe that Leo did it. I do. People get mad at me. I don't care. I just went and I looked into I read a lot of the trial transcript. I stripped away the media part of it. I just went back and looked at facts. And I got to wait. You go to the museum down there, and I'm not going to name the museum right now because I just don't want to hear the flag. But you go to the museum down there, and it is all pitched one way. I've been there too. But and yeah, were there things being shouted during the trial? Sure, it was a very hot trial. It was hot during that time, and it was a hot trial. It was the city was really on a tinderbox. But that was well, because there are people that get mad because they don't think that he did that, and they will defend that to the nth degree. So Barry says a lot of the soldiers from Confederate cemetery. Yes, the train wreck during the Chickamauga, they were hauling sick soldiers up and down the line. Yeah, there's what is it, 400 plus graves there, Barry? I've walked that grave line. Yeah. I mean, they did say it, but there are people today that does not like to talk about it. It's still a black mark on the city of, well, even Greater Atlanta, but certainly Marietta. And but it to this day that's one that people. I'm not saying everybody, but they're according to the author who did all the interviews that went down. He said they slammed the door in his face. They said we ain't talking about that. And the ones that did said, "Don't use my name because I'll catch people, the old family names up here. They don't want to talk about it. They want to act like it didn't happen." But when you look at that case and you see you when you read the facts of it, it's very clear to me. And he was convicted, and it wasn't because they were racist or whatever. It was, I mean, he didn't have no defense. And a lot of people, they just want to point out certain things. They tried to really push that in the narrative of the security guard or other people. Even there was all kind of theories about that. But when you go back and you even look at the testimony of how he acted at home and everything, he was a guilty guy. I mean, he went home. Even the staff noticed how he was acting. He was different. There was so many things that happened that night. It was very obvious he was a guilty man, and he was convicted. And but then the prosecutor was moving up, and the governor. That's where the movie comes in, and it's a good movie. I mean, it's a good movie. It doesn't give you clear. I mean, I think it ended kind of muddy, if I remember right. But it was more about him, and he was, I enjoyed watching the movie, but it makes you wonder if they could do forensic DNA evidence to check. It would. I think it would be one of those cases that would be good to do a DNA forensic examination, but the family probably never would. I don't know. You never know. They're finding out more and more stuff now. I mean, they're solving cases left and right for that, without a doubt, and the identities of people as well. The forensic stuff is really off the chain right now of how good it's gotten and what they're able to do with it. So cold cases and stuff like that. And this, they will say, well, he was convicted. He wasn't declared innocent. And even in him reviewing that case, he never said he didn't do it. He just said there were some things in there that, he felt, I'm paraphrasing, but basically he felt like, because to get a death sentence, there has to be a preponderance of evidence, and, It's a hard thing to meet. So he did move it to that. But yeah, they just looked for a scapegoat. I mean, they did. Well, yeah, that's true. that's true. But there was there's a lot of history there. There's a lot to look at, and it's a stain on the state. It's a stain on her life. I mean, no, obviously she would have been living today. She'd live, but she deserved to live her life, and she got robbed of that because of a pervert. And that case really touches me. It really does, And it's weird. It's kind of weird to go to the graveyard. It's just stand there, and when I went to the graveyard, and I don't know. I mean, as a Christian, I thank you for that, Watchman. I would love that interview. By the way, when when I was standing there, I don't know, I just felt like I needed to say something. And I said, Mary, Miss Mary, I'm sorry. I'm sorry this happened for you. You know, that you were, people in your life failed you. And it's just heartbreaking. I shed tears at the graveside. I don't mind saying I didn't know her. That case really broke my heart. Really, really just broke my heart. When you look at that, the brutality of it and everything, it just makes you angry. There was a descendant of Mary Fagan that spoke at her. Okay, in Cassville, I wonder if I can get her name and have you contact her. If you get it, brother, I'd love to have it. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I want to cover. That's right down my alley, history and cases like that, and keep those stories alive too. Don't ever let the soldier stories, tragedies, keep the don't promote the evil people. Promote the ones that had the tragedy. Share their story of who they were and what it was about them. What did Mary like to do? I mean, I want to know more about her than just that she was slain. We know she worked. We know she went to the parade. She was looking forward to the parade. What kid don't like parades? What was her aspirations in life, if known? What did she want to be when she grew up? She never got the chance. And saying that, I tell you what, for a podcast special, I'm going to go down. We're going to take some flowers to her grave. It's been a long time since I've been down there, but I tell you what, that's going to happen soon. I'll and I'm not doing it for show or anything like that. I want to do it out of purity, respect, and the love that I have in my heart, and just how sad that is. That it happened. And I will, because of those of you who won't be there, I'll only film it for that reason. And I'll do that soon. I promise. I've been meaning to go back anyway. I was actually thinking about it here just a couple of weeks ago. So it's been fresh in my mind anyway. And I want to go down and I want to. There's a couple of other stories in that cemetery, Barry, and you might, if you know of a couple, I know the lady in black, and she came to her. What was the lady in black? Wasn't that her son died? And she came to the cemetery like every day dressed all in black for years and years and years. And I'm going to tell you, I'd love to go to Oakwood and do a bunch of stories over there. Man, they's military leaders buried over there. I ain't even got to go to that cemetery. I need to do that too. And I'd like to go to the one that's down there, right there at Rome, Adairsville, or whatever it is, the big military cemetery there, or National Cemetery. Georgia National Military Cemetery, whatever. I love that stuff, and that's all within an hour or two of where I live. It's not that far, and about an hour for one, and maybe about an hour, $1.20 for the other. Not bad, and I'm going to do that. Me and Mr. Paul, as part of Wolf Nation, we'll go down and get a couple of stories. We've been talking about doing that anyway. I want to cover the bus crash that happened up in 2. I've been wanting to do that for a while. Mary Fagan Keene is her name. Mary Fagan Keene. Let me write that down. Mary Fagan Keene. Get my notes. Yeah. Somewhere in my pictures, I have a picture of her stone. I think I even cleaned it off a little bit when I was there. It had some stuff on it. It's kind of a flat stone. Yeah, I would love to have her on. What a story. Amazing. Barry says, I went to Oakland Cemetery, and that's where the line of Atlanta was. It was, and there was damage there, a lot of storm damage and stuff. I went there and helped clean up after tornado. Yeah, I remember that tornado. And some of those stones were damaged. Here's her web. Okay. Thank you, sir. Somebody'd like to see that. All right. And I will copy it out of the Rumble. I will follow that and save. Awesome. Thank you, sir. That's the kind of stuff that I really want to do. There's a bunch of Confederate generals. Okay. I've never been there. I've been meaning to go, Barry. I mean, I just never been there. I have a copy of the Samuel Hollingsworth Stout record saved on a 32 GB USB. I've gave copies to several historical societies. Okay, cool, man. Yeah, you're an awesome dude, man. You've done a lot of research and stuff, and I like that. Hello there on Instagram. Thank you for joining in tonight. We're talking about whatever with the Cornbread Man, but we've been talking recently about the death of Mary Fagan in Georgia, in Marietta specifically. And but I will do that soon. I promise. Me and Paul been talking about doing a little bit bigger road trip, and around with the shutdown coming, of I won't be working. That'd be a perfect time for me and him to go do that. So give me a couple of weeks, and we'll make that happen. And we'll try to do some stories down that way while we're there. I mean, we can't get them all, but we can hit some big ones. And we'll do one from there. We'll and then I will contact and see if I can't get her to come on. That would be fantastic. And yeah, I'll have more about that. I'll have more about that because that is perfect. Like I say, it was on my heart to do it anyway. I don't even know what brought that up tonight. I guess it's in my brain, but I definitely was very moved to go to that cemetery and stand there. You know, I don't know. I get emotionally involved in some of this stuff. I really do. And I think one of the things is that I know there are some people that come, but a lot of times you go to these old things like this and people don't ever come anymore, and they're just dirty and stuff, and we try to clean that stuff off. And I got to do a better job of myself. There's a couple of ones that I hadn't been to in a while, and I went to them, and I was like, oh man, I've got to get down here. Me and my son are going to do some work at a couple of one of my best friends, his grave. We're going to clean that up a little bit here soon. We're going to have some time off together, and we're going to go do that while it's not growing up. We're going to clean it up real good and let that stand out, clean off the stones some. I know, Barry, that cleaner you can get. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's really good for cleaning gravestones. It doesn't break down. It's not hard on the stone. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, watch. Oh, okay, yeah. We just get busy, and I understand. But my best friend, me and Paul went down to do the video. I said, the stone is gone. I thought somebody stole it. He said, no, brother. It's actually just got some grass and stuff that's kind of grown up around it. He goes, it's here. And that broke my heart. And I was like, I can't believe it's been this long for me. And I said, I'm going to be back. And I promised my friend that. So I'll be back. And I am. That's stuff that's going to happen here soon. G2 cleaner, you can get it from Atlas Preservation. Some hardware stores sell it. G2. Let me write that down. Make sure I don't, because my brain is not always remembering stuff like it used to. Atlas Preservation. Let me get that too. I'll forget that. Preservation. Very nice. Thank you, Barry. Yeah, I've heard it as D2. Yeah, D2, D2, yeah, D2, not G2, D2. That's what I was thinking. I remember it. You can buy it from a kit. That was a small spray bottle. You're only going to clean a. Yeah, and I just need it for a handful. If you want to clean several graves, you may have to get a gallon, but it comes with a spray bottle and a brush, and it really works. I've heard great things about it, and it's supposed to not break down the grave. And I've got in my direct line, my great. Let's see, he's a great, if I remember right. G.W. Washington, or G.W. George Washington, what he stood for. They called him G.W. Cordell. His grave I need to clean up a little bit. Well, we could do that, man. We could do that. That's a good idea. And I'll definitely have to have Paul there because we'll have to make sure we don't get somebody walking up on us. Unfortunately, that part of town has turned into not the best parts of town. But I didn't have any problems when I was there. I've learned in cemeteries to park where I can still see my car and to be packing, if you know what I mean. I know Paul will be. He'll have his, so I don't have to worry about it. But these things are understood. That's a nice area though, really. They've done a good job with that area of town. And But that, yes, that'd be great. Just lay some flowers, clean it off a little bit and lay some flowers and say our respects, maybe say a prayer. That would be amazing. That's a great idea, and just bring that story to people. I think that would be. It touches me, man. I'm a, you know what? I love kids, and it just bothers me so bad for anybody to be slain like that. It just angers me as a man, as a dad and granddad. That just ticks me off. I mean, I don't care if it's been 500 years. That just makes me mad. Some freak would do that to that little girl. I just want to, just makes me mad. D2, you simply spray it on and you can go and go back over with the water to wash off the residue, but mostly just spray it on. Let the rain handle the rest. Awesome. Yeah, you don't want to be putting deep scrubs on that stuff. Some of those stones are they've been there for a while. They've been in the weather, the freeze, the cold, the hot, and everything else. And so you got to be really careful of that. And the main thing is to get, isn't there, if they're really bad, Barry, can't you take like the paper and like go over it on the other side and it'll like put the print on there? Because some of those are about wore out. They really are. We've done when I was really working with the SCV on a lot of these grades. I learned a lot of this stuff. I need to get more active with them again because that really means a lot to me to be taking care of somebody's ancestors' grave. I just love that kind of stuff. We've done a lot of cemetery work over the years. Um, yeah, that whole organization. I'll tell you another one that makes me mad down here in Georgia is the Southern Poverty Law Center. Oh, what an organization is that? Uh, yeah, they've labeled about everybody that's conservative as a terrorist group down here, or they tried to. What is that guy's name? Dees? What is that? I can't. Oh man, that dude gets on my nerves so bad. I used to go to their website and read a lot and see where they were kind of focused and stuff. They've been a little more marginalized here in the last few years. It's not been as big a deal. Yeah, you can use the paper and scrub some charcoal or chalk over the paper to read the stone. But if you've got a little moss or lichen or something on there, that takes a little more effort to brush. Okay. Yeah. It's a sad state of what position some of them have got in. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I ran out of text if you see some moss or. Yeah. Cool. We were at my mother-in-law's grave, and of course, my mom. It's my wife's mom and dad, our sister, aunt, uncle. I think are all buried there. And while we were there, and I need to get some of that glue that you can glue. We saw somebody's grave that had just broke off the platform. Wasn't broken too. It's just the part that was standing up was broken and laying down. And I think it was a child's grave. And I told my son, I said, I want to get some of that glue, and I want to take it there and glue that back up and stand it up because obviously nobody's looking at it. This is an old cemetery. If we don't watch, that will be ran over by whomever at some point. And I've already found a couple of gravestones thrown on the edge of the woods, and they're pretty close to around where they're buried. And I told my son, I said, we're gonna fix that. I don't have to know who they are. To heck with that. Just help somebody out. D2 is a biological cleaner. You should never use bleach. Yeah, never use bleach or harsh soap, but they do say just soapy water would do a good job too, and a gentle brush. So yeah, you can use liquid nails or tough as nails to repair some stones. Okay, I can go get that. But it's just over time, those things wear out. And what happens is a grave starts to settle one way, and especially if they're like this or forward, the weight of that stone is now like this, and it just at some point it just snaps off, or somebody hits it with a lawnmower. And that could happen too, and it's sad. It's just sad. One of the saddest walks I ever took was through the old section of the Lafayette Cemetery. Beautiful, beautiful work that these stonecutters did, and all the wrought iron is falling in, and it just makes me sad. We just don't go back like we should, and I'm guilty too. But I need to put in my schedule. It's just a matter of scheduling it. Just put in the schedule. But I'm going to do that. That's definitely something I want to do, and I want to go up and cover the kids in the bus crash that were killed. That's another story that's been out there for a while. And I'm going to tell Paul we're going to do it. I didn't really have somebody to go with me for a while. Me and Paul work well together, and we can be somewhere, pretty quick. We may have to do that on other than a Saturday. We might do it on a Sunday afternoon or something and make that journey because it's a little further out. But I definitely want to do that. It's difficult to clean up some of those old raw. Yeah, it is. Even if you with Rust-Oleum, the paint just doesn't stay on. You have to clean them up. Yeah, and boy, isn't it beautiful though when it's um, really clean. I mean, really nice. That's beautiful. Absolutely. Have I ever been to the cemetery next to you, Jay? It's old. I don't think I have, but I've seen it. I have seen it, and I would like to go through that one as well. I'm telling you, man, I love to walk through cemeteries. When I went down to look at, I don't think I have the book back here. Maybe I do. The Zenith Man. I think it's up in the house. And I went to find Alvin's grave. That's I'm in my element. And I told my grandkids, I said, "Oh, you probably hate this." I said, "I love it. I absolutely love it. It's like a what do you call it? Like you're on a hunt, and you go, you don't even know where it's at. Sometimes you don't know the cemetery's at. I love that kind of stuff. And you can spend days traveling the cemetery. Oh, sure. Yeah. I could never in my lifetime go to all the cemeteries and do them justice for that. But sometimes I'll have a specific grave of someone that I'm looking for and I want to go see and I want to do a story about it. Hey, that cemetery up in St. Elmo, Barry, up here. I don't know if you're familiar with it. That's got a lot of old, pretty famous Chattanoogans in it. There's a tunnel that goes from the cemetery to Sanford Stadium. Okay, I didn't know that. That's interesting. I'm a dog fan. I didn't know that. That's cool. Very cool. I need to go down there and do that. Go on not a game day, just go on other days. You won't have all the crush of fans. That would be a fun trip too. I want to go back anyway. I'd like to go back around, look around UGA. It's changed, I'm sure, since I've been there. Go to the bookstore, the on-campus bookstore, or off-campus, either way. Just walk through. The cemetery in Dalton, the SFV did a really good job with their monument there that lists all the soldiers' names. Which one are you talking about? Now, I know where Johnston's monument is, but which cemetery are you talking about in Dalton? I wanted to do all the soldiers that I have at Cassville and the other. I have at Kingston on the marker, but it does cost money. It sure does. It costs a lot of money. I was watching one of those guys help a lady the other day. I think it was her brother died, and they didn't quite know where the grave was, and they narrowed it down. They felt good about it, but they used some technology. I watched that show here recently, and that was great. Just fascinating to watch that. Brought closure for the family. They were going to get a gravestone for it. They felt bad about it all these years later that they didn't have a gravestone on the grave, but they didn't know where it was at. And like I say, we lose cemeteries every day to developers. They will mow them down and then say, "Oops, we didn't know that was cemetery, idiots." You know exactly what you did. You got to take care of these little cemeteries. The big ones, they need work, but there's a lot more people involved. Find the small ones that nobody's visiting. They might only have 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 graves on them. You need to go out there and keep a check on them. And then you got the people that do violence in graveyards. It's stupid. Makes me mad. I'll get my blood pressure up. Oh, anyway, that's not talk for tonight. I really enjoyed the discussion, gentlemen. That's a great idea. And we'll go down and we'll cover that. It's been a while, and I need to do that. They took down the Confederate monument in front of UJ that was in the middle of the street after St. Yeah. I know. It's another bullcrap moment. Oh, my gosh. You're just trying to make me mad tonight. It just ticks you off, don't it? It just ticks you off, man. The one that got maybe the maddest was the ones out of New Orleans, man. Magnificent, man. And they took them down. Oh, they were celebrating over that. Come on. Makes me mad. They moved that UGA monument to a side street. I went down there and saw where they moved it. Okay. Yeah, let's hide them. Let's move them out of the way. We don't want nobody seeing them. Come on. That's our sons and daughters. Our ancestors, We're the sons and daughters. But that's ridiculous. Makes me mad. Consider the line of Atlanta Cemetery was in the middle of Oakland Cemetery and they damaged it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. When you go out in cemeteries, used to be you find people that are paying their respects or doing research or whatever. Now you find freaks. Freaks. I had these two people come up to me at the cemetery. I was guarding. I would do patrols there. I could tell you all kinds of stories. But they were playing the little Pokemon game, and they wanted to go in the closed, locked mausoleum so they could get their what do they call that? The what it appears spawn. I need to get. They said, "Do you have keys to that?" I said, "I sure don't." I said, "Even if I did, I wouldn't open the door for that." And she goes, "Why not? Nothing wrong with it." I said, "Come on, have respect." This makes me mad. That's one of the issues I have with Chris Carr, the attorney of Georgia, who could have convicted these people for those crimes. Oh yeah, I don't care for him either. Do you know the Church of England went to canonize? I didn't know that. He didn't make it, but they went. Oh, that's ridiculous. One I'm talking about was moved to Watkinsville. Oh, the one you're talking about was moved to Watkinsville. Okay. Well, I went through there a few times coming out of Georgia games. It ain't no quicker, but you do get to go through some small areas. But I've made that journey through Watkinsville a few times. All right, gentlemen, good night. I may be back again. I still want to do my music show. Hopefully not. If I get it, I'll get it this weekend. But we'll see how my wife's doing. So we may or may not. I've enjoyed. It's been a good night, good discussion, and we got action coming out of this night talk, and that I do love. Have a great night. If I see you again, it'll be around 11ish. If I don't, I'll see you in the morning early from the streets of Ringgold or earlier. Who knows? And we're getting back with it. Take care, my friends. God bless. We'll see you soon. Praying for you. Pray for me. That's where I went to church with Jake the Snake. Oh, okay. Cool. Awesome. And thank y'all for coming on the other channels. You are awesome. And we appreciate you being here. Without you, I'm just talking into emptiness. But we appreciate you. Take care.